burning bright above the skies of Gaza. Israeli munitions that human rights groups say is white phosphorus. A deadly weapon illegal to use against civilians, now it appears landing on the people of Gaza. These pictures show what is believed to be white phosphorus in the heart of Gaza's neighborhoods.
We saw a bright flash of light in the evening and then saw all these sparks fall near us. The sparks were landing all around us and in our homes. Our mattresses caught on fire.
On the ground in Jabalia, home to more than 100,000 Palestinians, children unaware of the deadly toxin dropped on them, naively playing with the munitions. As adults look on describing the poisonous effects it has had on them.
It's the first time we see this type of weapon. It must be new and it seems like phosphorus. It's suffocating and has a deadly poisonous smell that I'm sure will cause a lot of sickness and disease on all the civilians here.
Now, those who've witnessed the attacks are calling on Israel to halt the use of white phosphorus.
These people must be brought to justice because they are just killing children and they are just killing women they are innocent, they've done nothing. This is a sort of humiliation of all the international humanitarian law, and it's a sort of humiliation of the Geneva Conventions. And there is no way unless these people should stop this crime immediately in Gaza, and they must be brought to justice.
I've stood on the border of Gaza watching Jabalia as it's been hammered by white phosphorus over the past few days. It's very clear as you walk by the Israeli 155mm artillery batteries, they're handling American-manufactured white phosphorus rounds. They're fused. You don't fuse it unless you're going to use it. And I'm watching as the white phosphorus explodes in air in an airburst situation and comes down and covers the area of the refugee camp. It's not an illegal weapon, so why is Israel not saying that they're using it? I don't really get it. The problem, of course, is that while it's not illegal to use to cause smoke and create a smoke screen, it is illegal to use if you're going to harm a civilian population.
And in Israel's war on the densely populated Gaza Strip, it's the civilian population that once again seems to be affected by these munitions that are extremely flammable and can cause life-threatening burns when coming in contact with human skin. The Israeli military says the weapons it's using against Gaza comply with international law. But while the claim and counterclaim goes on, one thing is clear. The civilian population is suffering, and that suffering shows no sign of abating. Ayman Muhyiddin, Al Jazeera, Gaza.
We've had no word from the Israeli side since it has been confirmed that that is the UN headquarters on fire in Gaza City. A little earlier on, when we heard from the United Nations Rights and Works Agency, UNRWA, that there was fighting in the vicinity and they were calling the Israelis to end this fighting. We did hear from Israeli military sources confirming that there was heavy fighting against militants in that particular area near the compound in Gaza City. We're also hearing that a media building in Gaza City has been hit. The Foreign Press Association confirming the building has been hit. It houses Reuters news agency, saying all its staff are okay, but 2 Abu Dhabi television employees have been injured and taken to hospital. And the Foreign Press Association quotes the employees within this building as saying that there were bullets entering the windows of that building as heavy fighting was raging just outside, and the Foreign Press Association calling on both sides to halt the fighting in that area immediately. Dom?
Paula, John was talking about the fact that these are phosphorus fires burning at the United Nations compound. What is the Israeli military stance on the use of phosphorus in Gaza?
Well, the Israeli military has been, an Israeli government spokesman has been asked about this on a number of occasions and has said that Israel complies with international law. Now, of course, to use white phosphorus in a battlefield in an open area, it provides cover for soldiers and is not illegal under international law. But, of course, using it somewhere which is densely populated, as Gaza is, will cause problems. Now, the Israeli military not admitting that it is using white phosphorus, just saying that it is complying with international laws and using the same weaponry that the likes of NATO and the UK and the US Army would use as well. So certainly it is a bone of contention. The fact that we've heard from Human Rights Watch who believe that white phosphorus has been used in very densely populated areas, and of course in an open area there would not be so much of a problem, but if it is being used in this densely populated area, it can cause burns to civilians. And you can see John Ging believes that it was white phosphorus that actually caused partly the fire in the headquarters and in the warehouses. It is very easily ignitable.
And as John was saying, there's a lot of extremely valuable supplies that are now ablaze in the United Nations warehouse. That clearly is very bad news for the people in Gaza who are so desperately in need of those supplies. What word do we have on the civilians in Gaza in general as we are approaching a full 3 weeks of the trouble there?
Well, to try and put it into context, in normal times, about 50% of the Gazan population of 1.5 million residents would rely on UNRWA to give them some kind of food aid. 1 million rely on aid agencies for some kind of humanitarian assistance, but these aren't normal times. It's likely that the vast majority, if not everyone in the Gaza Strip, needs some kind of assistance at this point, and certainly some areas where there has been heavy fighting, where the food distribution has not been able to get through, they need food, they need fresh running water, there's very little electricity. And certainly this is a devastating blow for 1.5 million residents. Every day we've had a 3-hour lull over the past several days that Israel has called for a humanitarian corridor to be able to get trucks of aid into Gaza and to allow the aid agencies to distribute this aid. Aid agencies, including UNRWA, have said repeatedly 3 hours is not enough. Logistically, it is impossible to try and distribute this aid in just 3 hours, to get the staff where they're needed. And of course, often this lull has been interspersed with fighting, heavy fighting at times, with explosions, with rockets coming into Israel. And the UN itself had to suspend its activities at one point last week because it said it was coming under fire, and it did not believe that the Israelis were able to safeguard its staff as they were trying to distribute aid. So certainly there would be more aid than normal in that warehouse, because there were a couple of days where the UN was just simply not able to get the aid to the people who need it. So certainly it's a huge blow.